Hey folks, Bruce here from 4LowLife, and today I'm going to play with some Caswell Black Oxide coating. This is for putting on nuts and bolts that you're putting back together. So I've got the Caswell concentrate, got some distilled water. I'm going to try something a little different. Got some little plastic trays with some other little plastic trays with holes in them that fit inside first plastic trays. I've got some steel hardware. This is stuff that I cleaned up in my Eastwood tumbler. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. And of course, a salad spinner. Stay tuned to see what's going on. Okay, so here we have a couple of baths, I guess you could call them. First off, want to note that I am wearing gloves. The black oxide lists that it's caustic, and this stuff is as well. So this is just, it used to be made by Caswell, and now it's just called Super Clean. And this is what I use to degrease anything and everything, because we want to make sure all the grease is off before we start this. So my idea with these baskets is that I can degrease without doing one bolt at a time. So I want to get this in here and agitate it a little bit to make sure that I get contact on all the areas. This bath here is just more distilled water, same as what I use to mix the that oxide coating with it. I'm going to bath it in. These have already been through a degreasing and a tumbling in the Eastwood cleaner, so they're fairly clean, but I have touched them by hand without gloves on, so I want to make sure I get all that off. So I have no idea how long it's going to take, but let's say that that's got the majority of the grease off. I'm going to go into the water. Again, this is distilled water, not tap water. So in here, I'm basically just wanting to get the super clean off. And looks like it's mostly coming off. So next it's going to go into the bath of Caswell coating. So the idea here is the salad spinner I can use to continually rotate the parts, and it's apparently about 5 minutes. The idea was that as this rotated, the parts would kind of tumble around so they're not always sitting on the same surface. As you can see, this has been less than a minute, and they're already quite a bit more black than they were. I don't think this is going to take very long. So these have been in here about 15 minutes now, and the color is pretty good. So my next step, I'm just going to do one to go through this. I'm going to take it out, drop it in here. Now I'm going to drop a whole bunch in here. This is just back into the distilled water. And out of there, I'm going to dry it off. And you can see here, that is now definitely, whoop, you need to see it, black. And then I've heard the next good step to do is into some used motor oil. So this is a trough of used motor oil. Into there, let it soak, let it dribble off, or it dribbles all over the floor. And I'll clean that up. I'll show you what it looks like after. Well, as I'm sure you can see on the floor behind me, I've done quite a few batches now, and I think they came out really well. Have a closer look. So for the sake of comparison, I will show you a washer. Here's a washer that came out of the vibratory cleaner with no coating on it, the silver one, and the Caswell Black Oxide. I think it made a pretty neat difference. Finish is really nice. Here's a kind of hard to see. There's a door pin, and just has a really nice look to it. This stuff is great. I love it. Only thing that I noticed was the first batch that I put in immediately reacted, and I would say the first time you use it, it's probably not going to take very long. A couple minutes. I didn't need to go 15 minutes on the first batch. By the time I got to the third batch, I definitely needed to go 15 minutes. But I did a lot, and I used almost nothing out of that container. So if you guys are doing a restoration or you're nut and bolting anything, you've got some small parts that you don't want to paint, this stuff is absolutely the way to go. Putting paint on a nut and a bolt, you're going to be stripping it back off when you put your socket on it. This stuff is in the surface, so it's on there. I will do a follow-up once I've started putting some of these back together. From what I've seen, the coating holds up really well. You can see that truck back there still doesn't have a motor in it. That's because I didn't have the hardware to put it together. I could not, on a repainted frame, repainted engine, put it together with nuts and bolts that are going to go rusty in 5 minutes. So stay tuned for more videos. If you like this video, if it gave you some good information, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you around. Thanks.